Can you first just say what happened to you that day? What injuries did you sustain?
I have to be careful how I speak about this issue because I'm in the legal process.
Do you think you are legitimately looking at prison time?
I'm not sure what my fate will be. At this point, the damage has been done, and hopefully we can all call it for what it is and bring some type of peaceful resolution.
Folks, many of us saw the clip where a Marine went to protest the war in Iran. He got dragged out of the room by Capitol Police and a U.S. Senator. His bone broke. He was put in jail. And he has a story to tell. His name is Brian McGinnis. He was an Iraq War Marine veteran. He's a guy that is fiercely against this war in Iran and our influence with Israel. And he's a guy that's running for office in North Carolina. Today, we interview Brian McGinnis and dive into his story. Before we get into that, we have our anti-government t-shirt collection live on the site. You guys have been loving the designs. We have this one right here, which I really think sums up how America feels. And we also have this one as well. So get yours at TommyJBiggie.com. We're going to dive into an interview of Brian McGinnis. But first, a quick word from the sponsor of today's episode.
Folks, I've been doxxed before and it resulted in me and my family getting threatened, and it made it a very uncomfortable experience. So I know firsthand how annoying or downright dangerous it can be when people get a hold of your personal information, like your home address, cell phone number, and more. And I also know how important it is that you defend yourself against these types of attacks from happening. That's why we use OmniWatch. It's a company that protects you against identity theft and scams, which according to the FBI account for the majority of cyber crimes happening. OmniWatch has been featured in Forbes and the Consumer Voice, and here's what they bring to the table: 24/7 monitoring with instant alerts, AI-powered scam detection, and financial coverage with expert support. Folks, just as you wouldn't leave your front door open at night, you should not leave your digital life exposed either. Folks, claim 50% off your first month of OmniWatch scam protection and dark web monitoring at omniwatch.com/TommyG. Again, that is half off your first month to make sure your data and credit is secure. Click that link to take advantage of that offer. And now, folks, back to this interview.
Brian, thank you so much for joining us. Millions of us across the country witnessed the moment where you went in full uniform to a Capitol building, stood up, protested, got dragged out, and we heard a loud crack. Can you first just say what happened to you that day? What injuries did you sustain?
I have to be careful how I speak about this issue because I'm in the legal process, but it's really evident what happened to me that day. I went there to speak truth to power, and what the military is doing now is breaking my heart. And specifically the genocide in Gaza. My wife is Palestinian American. That makes my children American Palestinians, and so this is a real close to heart issue. I was in the Marines myself in Iraq, and we occupied that place, and Palestine's been occupied by Israel. And it's just a simple dynamic of when a superpower, oppresses another people. It's just breaking my heart to witness this, and so I've had a lot of difficulty viewing all this stuff happening, and been trying to find ways to cope. It's really been hard living my day to day with friends that I care about, and they just obviously don't have the same connection as I do. So we just don't share the same mind frame, and it's just really difficult. So I've made it. It's just become a real project for me to want to try to make people aware, and I feel like it's a graspable topic of when one people group oppresses another, and it's very easy to see the power disparity, but it's really difficult because of like predetermined, and internal biases that we just all have. And I'm aware of all that, but I'm steady trying to just make an impact and spread awareness. But it's really been tough. And so all this pain has led up to doing anything and everything I can. It's led me to take up running for office with the Green Party, and it led me to go up to DC to speak out and protest. And now what happened after I opened my mouth, I had no idea that would all happen. Of course, that was just
I know you can't
chaos, but
right now, but is it fair to say that you are facing felony charges?
I guess so. My charges are 3 counts of assaulting an law officer, 3 counts of resisting arrest, and disturbing the peace or disturbing a hearing or something.
So it seemed like the feds are just trying to throw the book at you.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't assault anybody, and I came out pretty radically injured, and so I think they are really spinning it. I read the Capitol Police's report about it, and it's like obviously biased to making me looking unruly and out of order or all these things. It says, and I got my own arm stuck while trying to stay in the hall, and so that's all par for the course. But I think that's just it's another illustration how they just try to point to the oppressed tactics versus what's causing the protest, and yeah, pretty bogus.
So you went into that Capitol hearing around 1,500 followers. Last time I checked, you were well over 400,000 followers, millions of views of what you've seen. What has that been like, transferring from a guy that just, being a fireman, a former Marine, running for office, to a guy that a lot would consider a national hero, or some people would say a disruptor? But what is that like now that your life has changed?
Oh, it's a trip. My external life has changed vastly. I'm still trying to process all the differences that are happening there. Yet, with 4 young children, still going to school, oblivious to what's all been happening and things. And then my wife, who's been such a great person, keeping us together and keeping everything stable, those internal things have to run as they were. So it's a real neat mix. I'm so thankful to not be behind bars, and I'm glad to be back with my family, and that's going stable, but still coming around, understanding the change in my external life.
From some of the reports I heard from people around you, your family didn't even know where you were locked up for some time. Like, it was kind of a secret which jail you were. Can you describe some of that?
Yeah. After I got taken away, I received great safe transport by DC Fire to George Washington University Hospital, where I was taken great care of. And I was under security. The Capitol Police watched me the whole time I was there, but yeah, I didn't get a phone call, and I didn't have access to I wasn't given access to an attorney. And I was just sitting in bed, and they were just telling me, you just take care of your health first, and then we'll get everything settled at your arraignment. But I really didn't know what was going on. And of course, it was distressing not having any contact with my wife. I was very worried about her and what she was thinking. And so, yeah, that was hard that was difficult, but I was in good hands as far as the medical staff and all that.
Do you think you are legitimately looking at prison time?
Well, I have no clue what to tell you there. The legal world is a trip to me. I've been to a military court for a friend who was facing some pretty serious charges, and so being through the whole court process there in the environment for so long, it's such a sterile environment. It's so inhuman. It's just, you can't be a normal person. You have to talk and have specific what they call it, etiquette and things, and
heavy go on in there. It's an unusual kind of environment.
Yeah. So and how they operate and how they make their decisions, and what's admissible in court and what's not. I just don't know what to make of it. So I'm not sure what my fate will be.
I want to kind of understand your psychology, because, or at least the change in it, because I want to know, what were you thinking when you were in Iraq in 2003? What was the message that was going through your head? And what changed to now that you're in a position where you say we were the occupiers and what we're doing in Israel is wrong? Tell me about that mental evolution.
Oh man, great question. 2003, I was a Marine, young person, not very wise of the world, just driven with physical pursuits of wanting to be a strong person. I was a wrestler and a football player, and I wanted to go to the Marine Corps to be a boxer, and so I was all into all that kind of stuff. So I was really focused on trying to upgrade my physical skills, and being a Marine, I bonded with my fellow Marines, and we were there together to fight, the war on terror. And so, again, no worldly wisdom. It was just simple, them against us, and I'm going to protect my boys. And I was a gunner in the LAV, and so I was going to make sure I look through my sights and make sure I keep an eye out for any threats. If there are, I'm going to take them out. I'm going to do my part. And so that's my mentality in 2003 as a Marine.
Did you get to interact with Iraqis while you were there?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Did you get to interact with Iraqis while you were there?
Oh, very surface-like. We wouldn't get out and talk to Iraqis too much. We'd wave from our vehicle. I was in an LAV, and it's like a tank with 8 wheels, and it's got a turret up top. And we drove all across the country. We started in Kuwait, made all the way to Tikrit. It's north of Baghdad, and saw everything in between. And so, very, very small interactions with the citizens of Iraq.
And then, did you view them as the other or the enemy, or did you know that the people were kind of separate from the government and the soldiers?
I definitely knew that they were people. I had no ill will towards them, but there was a large, feeling of suspiciousness. You can never be too sure. A lot of things that were being talked about amongst the Marines was, they wave a white flag while they're walking down the street, but then once they go behind their door, they're grabbing an AK and RPGs, and they could shoot them out the window. So we were always on edge, and always.
Was there truth to that kind of claim?
I'm sorry, what?
Was there truth to that claim about the white flag and then the AK-47?
The fog of war, just the ramped up. We're bringing some aggression. I'm telling you, the Marines and the military brought some aggression. First off, they bombed the hell out of Iraq. Mm-hmm. Then they did helicopter sweeps to make sure some other targets were taken out. Then the tanks rolled through, and then we came through. So it was a very layered and thorough attack. And so by the time we did come, there was not too much to, counter us or not too many things. Like we did a lot of thermal image enemy vehicle profiling and pictures, and a lot of studying of what we could come across as far as other vehicles and other enemy vehicles or things like that. None of that was still standing by the time we rolled through. Most of our combat was when we rolled through cities and towns, and we catch small arms fire as we were coming through. And so we did catch that. But looking back at the time, hey, your head's on a swivel. You're looking out for your brother on your left and your right, and try to stay safe. And that's what you're locked in on. And so that was the mentality. And so that's how you judge everything. How that changed was, of course, being away from that environment and living, watching the news, not being in the Marine Corps, trying to assimilate to, civilian life, having jobs. Let me tell you, Tommy, there's plenty of times where I'm too much for people that are around me. There's a little high strung, and it might be just who I am. It might be a little bit of what the Marine Corps put in me. I don't know. But either way, I've come to terms where I think, it's a little bit of both. And I think the Marines did, turn me up to 11 to a certain extent. So, and so as I assimilated into the civilian world, I've tried to calm down, learn where I've pushed it too much, try to, salvage my relationships. And some of those are tough lessons to learn, and my first marriage, man, she and I took the worst out of each other, and there's no hard feelings there. But it was rough, and so there's some hard patches. And again, I'm not using this as an excuse for all my mistakes, but I'm just trying to I'm just answering your question, which was a really great question. So I moved along through life and had some bumps in the road. And then I did meet my wife that I'm with now. And she is a Palestinian American woman. She was born in Raleigh, North Carolina. And she didn't used to cover. She was just looking like a normal, beautiful woman that I got to meet through my friend from the fire department. She introduced us, and we fell in love, and we ended up getting married, and we've had 4 children. And so I did carry a lot of my Marine Corps attitude into our relationship, and she was cool with it, and we got along, and we had a compromising, we compromised and understood each other and had respect. But as I've got to know her and learned about her family and her family's, way of life related to them being in Palestine and how Israel affects the Palestinians. And once I saw that through their eyes and then looked at it through just plain research, it just really opened me up to the level of depravity and brutality there is in this world in general. I think I was just privileged enough to bypass and not see a lot of brutality. Yeah, the Marines was one thing, but I kind of compartmentalized that as that's combat. That's not regular life. But this kind of was a whole different set of violence and brutality. Violence is violence, but it was a different environment for it to happen. And so I'll finish this up real quick. So just seeing violence through a different position in life, a father, a husband, just a regular civilian, I guess I just see the violence and brutality in a whole different way.
What year was it that you started waking up or becoming aware of what was happening to Palestinians?
I'd say, so the big deal was October 7th, 2023. I think I was pretty well understanding the situation maybe 2 years prior to that. And I think I got some Facebook posts that, can confirm that. I think Israel bombed a media tower in Gaza. And
journalists are some of their targets, I hear.
What's that?
Journalists are some of their favorite targets, I see.
Yeah. And so 2 years prior to October 7th, they took out a large media tower. And I remember, I think the excuse was they were broadcasting. I heard from an Israeli person I knew. They told me it was because they were broadcasting some, messages that were just anti-Israel or something. Mm-hmm. And I remember the particular talking point this person said was, would you allow your wife to cheat on you just a little? Like just kiss another guy? Well, that's how we see the Palestinians. If they do just a little bit of, if they just do a little propaganda to anti-Israeli stuff or anti-Semitic stuff, then we got to come down on them hard and let them know they can't act like that. And it just seemed like one of them Hezbollah talking points looking back at that. And it was taken back with this illustration or this story he was telling me. And first off, Palestinians ain't the Israelis' wife. They're 2 different people groups. So that story is debunked right off the bat. And there should be a equality in attacking and equality in how much you're going to hurt one other, and
rather than just such a lopsided arrangement that we're currently seeing now. When you look at the death tolls, it's not even close. When you look at which group of civilians can walk peacefully, I'm reading a book called The Palestine Laboratory, and this Jewish scholar wrote it, and it basically, it shows, one, that Israel is, along with the United States, one of the biggest arms dealers, and that they export surveillance, arms, and many things that help oppressive regimes stay in power. And when you see what they circulate and then what they do to the Palestinians, I think anyone living under those conditions would be upset. The point I was going to make is that a South African diplomat came to visit Israel. They had a relationship, and the South African guy said, these guys are doing apartheid the right way. So it's like, if the South Africans are giving you that kind of compliment, it must be pretty severe conditions for the people that you're oppressing.
Great point, Tommy. Yeah, man. That's true.
So I saw a few veterans come out and they're like, you know what? He shouldn't be using his uniform like that. It's against the code. What kind of response have you gotten from other Marines and other veterans? Give me the temperature check and what's happening right now in that community.
I've got a lot of emails through my campaign website, and they're all mostly, I'd say 98, 95% positive. They're
Hmm.
like, man, we got your back. Thanks for saying what we feel. I appreciate that. But then you get a couple of uniform nerds who are like, you can't, UCMJ code 112, whatever. You can't wear a uniform in protesting. You only wear it during ceremonies. And they just leave that there for me as if I'm like, that's what. Okay, now I'll never do it. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, screw, killing everybody and all the loss of human life. I better stick to the uniform regulations.
That's exactly it. When you weigh uh, millions of humans going through suffering, starvation, oppression, horrific lives in a uniform violation, it seems like not a very big trade-off.
Right? Yeah, I think that's just silly.
So, have you had much of the Israel lobby go after you, or have you already been labeled an anti-Semite? Like, what is the warfare that you're facing on the political front due to your actions?
I haven't heard anything specifically from the Israeli lobby or anything like that. I know Senator Sheehy has been on and made some talks, and he disingenuously said, "I hope he gets the help he needs."
As
And
if you were mentally ill or something?
what's that?
As if you were mentally ill, he was saying?
Right? Yeah, yeah. And so that's quite a disrespect. Um, so yeah, that's not cool. I don't appreciate that at all. And him adding himself to the effort of getting me out, okay, Barney, good for you. And I didn't hear what he said, but it looks from the video he's scolding me and giving me his 2 cents about whatever. I mean, just get out of here, dude. I really don't appreciate him as a guy trying to scold me or whatever. I know what I'm doing, so go on. And then being on Fox, he's saying some things. Well, yeah, like I already said, I hope he gets the help he get. That's just real
Yeah.
disrespectful. So
I noticed from the first interaction, the first physical contact you received, it was aggressive right off the bat. There was no chance for you to stand up, leave. Hey, sir, you got to come with us. Um, what do you think about that? Because that to me, I wouldn't say that that's probably protocol, is to immediately escalate a situation.
yeah, man, I didn't know what to think about that. It's very nerve wracking to say
Mhm.
what I said. So just to get up and say and get my message across was kind of a surreal moment in the first place. So when they come and grab me, I, you know, I just didn't. I don't know what happened from that point on.
So was your adrenaline going before? Like you were probably before you even stood up. Like you were kind of feeling the adrenaline a little bit. You stood up, and then things kind of turned into a blur after that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, so to speak. I was focused on getting my message out. That was my main point. I'm speaking genuinely, trying to make an impact in this unnecessary war machine America is wielding for unjust reasons.
So I think a lot of young people, pretty much most people I talk to under 40 in this country, think this is Israel's war. But I want to hear it from your own side. What makes you draw the conclusion that this is Israel's war that we're fighting?
Benjamin Netanyahu constantly saying things, about taking Saddam out of Iraq would have positive reverberations throughout the region. Those where the positive reverberations is, every country out there is struggling and is destabilized, and then Iran being the most stable stronghold was at the end of this list. Of course, they want to destabilize all the other small countries around there, and now they've got everything in line, and they're going for broke trying to attack Iran. And the reasons keep changing, the mission keeps changing, and so I just feel like it all makes too much sense. Hindsight is 2020. I mean, at this point, the damage has been done. We're far too late in recognizing this, but I guess it's never too late. And hopefully, we can all call it for what it is, and speak up now, and somehow bring some type of peaceful resolution.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like we are in a it's hard to. I guess I saw the list of demands that Iran brought forward. I thought a lot of them are kind of reasonable. One of them I think is going to be impossible is that Donald Trump apologizes publicly. I don't think Donald Trump has apologized publicly for like anything in his career. To me, that's one of the things that really strikes me about his leadership style that rubs me the wrong way. Is Donald Trump is a guy that when it goes right, whether it's him or not, he will take credit for it. When it goes wrong, he throws people under the bus. He's already kind of doing that. He made the allegation that Jared Kushner, Marco Rubio, the kind of Israel A team that's in his circle were the ones that gave him the information that if we didn't strike, Israel's going to use a nuke or something was going to get escalated. He's not even listening to his own intelligence and even the yes men in his own Pentagon that he removed all the key players and put his cronies in there. Even they said, don't do this, man. And he's doing it. And so what Iran's conditions are for surrender, one of them is that. The other is that Benjamin Netanyahu gets delivered to the ICC to get tried in an international court. I don't see that happening anytime soon. And Iran said they're going to keep the pressure on until we agree. So it almost is like we thought we were going to go in there, take out the leader. They were going to instantly just fall over and surrender and say, pull down their pants for Israel and the United States, and that would be it. And now we have a real battle with a formidable foe. Do you have any projections? Do you have any ideas how you think this is going to play out?
Man, I love your commentary and I love your laying it out like that. And man, it would be so simple to just save so many lives with giving up these two very pathetic ones. These two have brought so much pain and suffering to the world for what? Benjamin Netanyahu, who's been running away from his own citizens, complaints and started a war almost, you could say, to avoid being taken out of office. And Trump now is just getting himself into so much. And he's got such a personality that he can't ever concede to any type of wrongness. So it's so silly that these egos are holding us back from a peaceful resolution.
And that millions of people might die because of egos right now.
Yes, that is just horrible. That is just tragic. And so I think that should be fuel to make us stand up and just demand that, seeing that unequal, that unfair dynamic is more fuel for Americans to just say, this ain't right, man. This ain't right. Because I've heard there's 24 Americans dead now. That's the latest I heard.
Yeah, and who knows if we're covering up more deaths simply to spin the war conflict how we want. And they also, just to clarify, I say millions, and that might sound like a lot, but do you know what the figures are and how many people died in the Iraq war that you were in 2003?
1 million Iraqis.
Yeah,
and,
so
I don't know the civilian casualties. I mean, the American casualties.
So this has the potential to be immense. It also has potential to affect the global economy. And to me, I know that if, hey, I made a mistake and all I had to do was say, you know what? I'm sorry. I acted off of bad intelligence. I take ownership for this. I'm sorry for the people that you lost. I'm sorry for the school that we bombed. If that was what it took to save people's lives, I would do it. But I think it's scary that we have a guy that is so led by bravado that that's not even an option on his table, I don't think.
That's unacceptable. It's horrible. I agree with you, man. I agree with you.
So I see you're running with the Green Party. I like independence. However, because I voted for independence almost my entire life. I did vote for Trump in 2024 and I regret it. I thought between the puppet Kamala and a guy that might shake things up, we had a better chance of shaking up the system with Trump. But previous to that, I had voted independent my entire voting record. I like independence. I think we need independence because it's two sides of the same bird with Democrat and Republican. But what is the strategy to win? Because that's a big part of the game. So how are you tackling your race in South Carolina?
All right, I'm in North Carolina, and I'm running for the Senate seat in North Carolina. It's the National Senate.
State Senate.
The National Senate. There's like 2 seats, and so I'm running for one of them.
Okay.
Tom Tillis holds it now, and Ted Budd's got the other one. I'm running for Tom Tillis when he leaves. And one of the biggest obstacles, I think, is to just convince people they're not throwing their vote away when they vote third party or vote for me in the Green Party. And it's just trying to highlight these reasons you and I have been talking about, and understanding too that our government has become bought and paid for. And I just want to be a people powered choice to bring things like healthcare as a human right, affordable housing, quality education, free public higher education, and so that's what some of the things I want to bring to the table. And I'm not going to accept any corporate donors, because the Green Party is all about free of any influence of billionaires. So that's a big aspect. And if we can just get that message out, at least in North Carolina, and motivate the people of North Carolina to set a trend by trusting in me to take this office with integrity and with just the people's well-being in mind, I think we can start a trend. And there's Greg Stoker, who is running for an office in Texas. There's Anthony Aguilar. Greg Stoker is an Army Ranger veteran. And have you heard him speak?
No, but
I'm from
Aguilar. But I gotta look up the Stokely guy.
Yes, please do. Greg Stoker is a savant when it comes to talking about military stuff. He is amazing. And Anthony Aguilar, yes, he is a 25-year decorated Green Beret Lieutenant Colonel veteran. And he is sharp. He is smart. He had my back there at the Senate Hall calling out Senator Sheehy. Yeah, he was there. And he was there yelling, said, "A senator just broke a Marine veteran's arm." And Senator Sheehy walked by and said, "Fuck off." Not cuss.
You can say whatever you want, man.
And then Tony was like, "Fuck you," or "Fuck off yourself." He said, "What?" And then he said, "You fat ass." So yeah, we gave it to him, man. We ain't taking no shit. Me, Tony, Greg, we're here. We're a bunch of normal veterans here to stand up for veterans the right way, because we're not trying to put our brothers and sisters in harm's way for some billionaires, flick of the wrist who's never going to be close to the action. And so, yeah, those are some of the, and then also I have also a fellow Green, Michael Dublin here. He's here in North Carolina. He was a Marine veteran as well. And he says he runs for his own reasons. And yeah, he's a veteran, but he doesn't try to lead with that. But we all have different reasons to run and why we were veterans, but he definitely served. So, yeah.
It feels like something is changing in this country. It feels like young voters are very disenfranchised, because we know that regardless if we vote Democrat or Republican, they're going to pick things that probably 80% of us don't agree with. And the 80% that can unite us, affordable housing, affordable education, not letting private investors buy thousands of single-family homes, which has happened by multiple private equity firms in Milwaukee, where I live. We want to be a strong military, but we don't want to do a $1 trillion budget. And we want our government accountable. We want to pass audits. Like, if I'm going to get brought before the IRS, if I don't pay a few $1,000s in taxes when they're spending billions or trillions, I just feel like it's pretty reasonable to say, you guys got to do your homework on this. And so it seems like we're at a crucial moment in this country where anti-corruption is the new platform. It doesn't matter which party you try and call yourself with, but as long as you stand against corruption, you don't take money from the corporate or billionaire class, I feel like people are going to be excited about you. When does your race take place?
I'm listening to you, Tommy. You were laying it out right. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
What did you ask me?
When is your race?
So I'm going to be listed as the candidate representing the Green Party. So I didn't have to do the primaries. It's hard enough to get a new party on the ballot, but we qualified because of Matt Ho running last election, and he got us on the ballot for this time. And so I'll be in part of the general election in November 3rd.
Okay. So the big part is going to be keeping this momentum from this big moment rolling into November. It's going to be interesting to see what happens across the country. I mean, I think we're in highly chaotic times, which makes it unpredictable, but it means that maybe things can come out of nowhere. Maybe things that were unlikely previously can happen. So we're rooting for you. I guess, is there any final thoughts or anything you want to really leave the people with?
One add on to that is, people may feel like there's nothing left to lose, so why not vote third party if everything's so chaotic? A couple of things I'd like to ask, and let me ask you this question, man. You made things so simple. I didn't need to break the ice. I appreciate your great candor. Here's a question for you, Tommy. What do you think this means? Death certainly focuses the heart to what's most alive in us.
I just saw someone ask the question, hey, would you want $10 million? But if you got that $10 million, you die tomorrow. And then the guy realized, that means that living tomorrow is worth more than $10 million. I think it means when you have you're so set on what on marching to your moral code, your moral compass, that you're willing to risk death for your ideas, and you're willing to or live a life that maybe you die at the end of it and you stood true to your course. I think that's something you can be very proud of. So I think that's the new movement right now is morals over political parties. And so I think you're part of this new meta that's emerging, and I'm excited to see it.
Man, I like your answer. I appreciate that, man. And one other thing I'd like to endorse, Jordan Rivers. He's running for LA City Council District 15 in LA, and he's a fellow Green of mine, Jordan Rivers. And he's got some ports in his district, and those ports send ships that have munitions for Israel. So, hey, this is a way to really affect things through our political, pathways, our legal political pathways. We're following the rules, but that's something. Jordan Rivers in LA City Council District 15. I just want to endorse him.
Nice. Well, folks, I think we're all hoping for a more peaceful, prosperous future. Maybe we exist more through mutually beneficial relationships, trade relationships, and laws and an economy that favors the common man. And so I'm rooting for anyone that's gunning for that. Thank you for joining me. I'm sure you have requests around the calendar to get your story. So I'm going to link your information in this description. Appreciate your time, Brian, and keep fighting the good fight, okay?
Oh, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. Great meeting you, Tommy. Thank you very much.
Likewise, brother. Well, thank you.